All right, thanks for your patience. We're ready to call this meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission to order. And we'll start with an announcement regarding our compliance with the open meeting law. Are we in compliance?
Yes, we are.
Great. Next is public comment. Comment during this.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, could I
Sure.
please do the roll call?
Oh, sorry, I skipped that. Yeah, let's do roll call.
Thank you. Vice Chair Laramie,
Here.
Commissioner Stodel,
Here.
Commissioner Levine, Commissioner Hotchkiss, Commissioner Serfas,
Here.
Commissioner Cosgrove,
Here.
Commissioner Palacios,
Here.
Commissioner Moody, Commissioner Perdue,
Here.
Commissioner Grimmer,
Here.
Commissioner Harper,
Here.
Commissioner Seabrandt,
Here.
Commissioner Gillespie.
Here.
Thank you. We do have a quorum.
Okay, great. So now we'll go to agenda item 3, public comment. Comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, please come forward and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion, as well as the amount of any time a single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Would anybody wish to speak at this time? Okay, seeing no one, we'll move on to the chair's announcement relative to the Historic Preservation Commission. Commissioner Stoldal, do you have any announcements for us?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay, great. Agenda item 5 for possible action to approve the final minutes by reference of the regular meeting of July 23rd, 2025. Are there any comments, or do we have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve. This is Commissioner Cosgrove.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Great. That motion carries with approval of agenda item 5, meeting minutes for July 23rd, 2025. Item 6 is 25-0265-HPC1. This is an abeyance item, a report by Jay Dapper, principal of Dapper Companies, regarding the status of the Huntridge Theater located at 1208 East Charleston Boulevard. Welcome.
Hello. How's everybody today? All right, so I am here to give you an update on the Huntridge.
Sorry, he got it working, so the PowerPoint does work.
Oh, it does. Okay, perfect. So, hi everybody. I'm here to give you guys an update on the Huntridge Theater project. I recently met with Dr. Seabrandt and Seth Floyd at the theater, actually earlier this week, for a walkthrough, and we did that I think Monday. And I'm here to give you an update on the rest of the project and where we're at. I'm just going to go through the PowerPoint one by one. Let's see if it works. This is just some basic information about what's in the presentation. So just kind of a table of contents, and then some renderings that I know that you have all seen in the past. So I'll just flip through this. Update number 1, there is a Public Works storm drain project that is going up Charleston. We were contacted by someone within Public Works and the general contractor that's, I guess, doing the work for Public Works, in reference to needing to use a portion of our parking lot for staging for this Public Works project. So we agreed to let that happen, and so we signed an agreement with, I believe it's the general contractor that's working for the city, and that's doing this project, and they fenced the parking lot area and put some security video surveillance and some other things, and they've got some equipment in our parking lot. And that agreement, it goes really month to month, and it can be as long as the project, the Charleston Storm Drain project goes on, or until we give them notice and terminate that. And I think that can be done within 30 days. So if you've gone by there recently and you've seen some fencing up and then some construction vehicles and things in the parking lot, that's what that's for. And that's a little bit more information on it. So this is the timeline and where that project, I guess it goes all the way up Charleston. So that's a map. So you can kind of get a sense of how big the project is. The next update is on the cell tower relocation. In some of the past updates that I've come and talked to you about, I was involved in litigation with the cell tower operator, which is AT&T, and a company called Crown Castle, over their unwillingness to move the cell tower. I'm happy to report that there's no current litigation going on. We're in talks right now with them to renew their lease and to relocate to the back corner of the property. We've spoken with the city planning department about the possibility of that, and right now we're just trying to work out the logistics of it. And I'm hopeful that within the next couple of months we have an agreement, a long-term agreement, to relocate the cell tower to the back of the project, and sign a new lease with the current cell phone operator. As we've discussed in the past, we have a tenant named the Soho Playhouse. We've signed a lease with quite some time ago. There's been some recent additions to some of their board members, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Keith Bowman, and some other really great board members that have been brought in to the Soho board. The additional board members have brought a lot of knowledge and experience in doing projects like this. I think Dr. Bowman was involved in the not only is he on the board of the Smith Center, but I also believe that he was a part of the original development of the Smith Center, and so was highly involved in that. So that was a really good development. And in addition to that, there's a group of local theater organizations that Dr. Bowman and a partner of his has kind of put together. And some of those theaters do have locations and some of them don't, but it's a theater coalition. And right now there's talks between Soho and all of these various groups to locate at the Huntridge Theater and Soho Playhouse. And so each one of these groups is an individual group, but many of them don't really have a permanent home. And the idea was to make a really great place where they could all coexist and all, have a first-class facility. And so many of these organizations we've met with and discussed, and one of the things that has come out of those discussions are each one of these theaters has specific needs. And like, for instance, the Jazz Outreach Initiative, we talked to them. They don't currently have a home. One of the things that they seem to do is they go around to places like UNLV and other theaters around the community and put performances on, but they also don't have a great place to rehearse. So one of the things that we didn't have as a part of our current project was rehearsal space. And so through this investigation process that we've been going through with this group of, different types of theater and, arts related, we'll call them users, we've identified some things that needed to be tweaked and changed within our plans. And one of the really good things that I think that Soho Playhouse and maybe Dr. Bowman and some of the new board members decided to do was they hired a consulting firm named FDA, which is I think that stands for Fisher Dax, and they are a well-known group that does they do different types of advising on how to build a theater. They do it all over the country, and so they started to work with Ginsler, our architect, to suggest some changes that we could make to our existing plan to accommodate things like rehearsal space and some of the other various things that these other groups are asking for. So we're currently in the process of investigating some of these recommendations that Fisher Dax has made to make sure that it's possible to make these changes that they're suggesting without making any major changes to what's already been approved, and we're going through that investigation process as we speak. This is just a slide that shows the theater and then the food and beverage components of the theater. We currently do not have a tenant for the front space, but we're looking for one. But the back space we have leased to a group that has a concept called Bar Central. It's about a 6,200 square foot space, and that is the space that was the former post office. And it's a really nice space. It has kind of a bow truss, and the plans for that Bar Central have been fully developed. These are some renderings of what that is going to look like. A local architecture firm is complete with the plans, and these are some renderings of what this will look like. And we expect to turn those plans in to the city to start the permitting process here very soon. And this last slide just talks about, some of the recent things that have happened that, I think are positive. Cell tower relocation probably being the biggest one. I've been very worried about that potentially slowing us down or hindering us from moving the project forward. Now that we're in regular communication with AT&T and Crown Castle, I think that there's a very good chance that that gets worked out. We sign a new lease, and that they agree to move to the back corner of the property, so that's really good. The architectural collaboration that's going on between Ginsler and FDA, I think, is a very positive development, and I believe that some of the things that have been brought up, I think, are good, and we're working on investigating making those changes. And certainly the theater coalition and groups that are all kind of banding together that will be potentially locating in the Hunter's Theater, I think that that's a really positive development. And I think that that's it. I am here to answer any questions that any of you may have in regards to anything that I mentioned today, or if you have questions on something that I didn't give you an update on, I'd be happy to answer those questions.
Great, thank you, Mr. Dapper. Are there any questions from the commission?
Commissioner Moody, thanks for your presentation. Do you expect the staging of the construction to slow you down at all?
Not at all. No, because we have the 30-day out, let's just say in 6 months, we're ready to pull the permit and start. We just have to give them notice, and then they'll have to clear off the property, and we would take that space back over.
Right, thank you.
Jay, I just had a question. In light of the partnerships and relationships you're currently underway with the different arts and theater groups in town, is there assistance from the city to help those folks locate and be a part of your project? Or how's that working out? I'm really excited about it. And
yeah, that's a great question. So we believe that there is, with all of these different theater groups that, a lot of them are nonprofit and, don't have a tremendous amount of money. We think that there is probably a bigger role that the city may play in this project because of that. It's our hope, and one of the things that we're certainly working on is kind of gathering these groups together, and and having the city help us with that, because we believe that there really isn't a hub or a one centralized place where a lot of these groups can be, and so it is a little early on. Dr. Bowman and some of the other people that are a part of this. This is, when I say relatively new, I don't mean like in the last 30 days, but when you have a lot of different groups and a lot of people, they have different needs. So it's trying to sort through those needs, make sure that you're not duplicating things. We have certainly listened to all of them, and it's not going to work for everybody. There's going to be certain groups that might want to participate, but for whatever reason, the framework of what we're building may not work. But what we really like is, when we first started this project, it really was just the Soho Playhouse was going to be activating the space, which was great, and they're fantastic at what they do. But we started to realize that there was a greater need. And, I think that really Soho realized that, and they brought some really great people onto their board. And, some of these other groups that we've met with, it's interesting how there's some pretty successful, whether it's theater groups or, like Joy, the Jazz Outreach Initiative. And it's crazy that they don't have a home. And so, my hope is that as this all comes together and we make some of these small changes, that the Huntridge Theater does become maybe that hub and that place for all of these places to, kind of all co-locate at.
And Jay, I think this is a great idea and great concept, and please keep us informed if we on the Historic Preservation can assist you in that. I mean, it's not only preservation of an historic building, but also preservation of the arts here in the community that we're now having an opportunity to do. So thanks again for looking at it in a new way, out of the box, and hopefully these relationships come to fruition and they find a home to practice, rehearse, and perform at the Huntridge.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Grimmer, for the record. This is really pretty exciting, and thank you for all that work that you've done in building those relationships. Do you have any estimates for timelines of when this could actually start getting rolled out, including the restaurants? And then secondarily, what are your plans for security of the site?
Yeah. So as far as our timeline goes, it will be highly dependent upon what happens with some of these recommendations that have been made by FDA and how many of those will be incorporated into our plans. One of the things that we were a little worried about is some of the recommendations could have caused us to have to potentially go back into the public hearing process, which we're trying to avoid that, just because we want to try to move forward as quickly as possible. So we're trying to walk a line between making some of these revisions, but do them within the envelope of what's already been proposed and approved. And so it's my hope that we don't have to go back through the approval process, which would take a much longer period of time. Once that's determined and the final decision is made that we're going to make these revisions and not those revisions, then those can be papered, and we've got to go through and get architectural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural, life safety updates to the set of plans that's about 90% done right now. Those plans need to be turned into the city, processed, and then finally a permit issued. And then we can start construction. There's other things that have to happen. I simplified it, but basically that's the basic timeline. I feel we've spent quite a bit of time having discussions about some of the things that FDA has suggested, and I think we have a pretty good understanding of the things that we can do that fall under those the guidelines that we wouldn't have to make major changes. And so now it's just a matter of everybody getting on the same page and agreeing, these are the revisions that we're going to do, and then set the wheels in motion to make that happen. To answer your question about security, so we currently have security on site across the street at the Huntridge Theater, at the Huntridge Shopping Center. and we have our own security car, and that security roams all of the various properties that I own in downtown. So if you're ever down there, you'll see it's like a Huntridge security vehicle. It's marked, and we have a full security detail. I don't know if they're there 24 hours a day, but they're there, the vast majority of the day. And they go from the Huntridge Theater to the Huntridge Shopping Center, across the street to the Mahoney's Building, up the street to Main and Gas, where the Herbert is, where the Great Greek is, and the city has their innovation center. And then they also spend time at the post office building that's at Las Vegas Boulevard in Carson. And so we kind of have a security plan that's worked pretty well in the past, but also the general contractor now that's utilizing the parking lot, they've got some additional security because of all the equipment and things that are there. And then also, I think putting the fence up was actually a positive thing because it stopped people from just walking up to the building. And, not that I mind that, but it was either last winter or the winter before, we had somebody, when it was really cold, light a small fire next to the building. And we came really close. Luckily, the fire department came really fast, and they put the fire out, and it caused very minimal damage. But as you know, those kinds of things happen in downtown or anywhere quite often, and it only takes one time for that to happen. So when I initially was considering whether or not to allow the general contractor in the city to utilize the parking lot as a staging area, that was actually one of my considerations because I really like the fact that there's constant activity going on. There's people parking there, big tractors there, and then they fence the entire yard. So it's actually really positive, and I think that it's a good deterrent to have anybody get close to the building and potentially either get in or cause a fire or anything like that.
Commissioner Laramie, for the record, I have a similar question, I guess, in terms of timeline, but you mentioned, that you're kind of at the 90% plan development right now, and then also with, I think it was Bar Central, that you're close to permits. So is the entire kind of complex, if you will, all being developed together, or are there like simultaneous efforts and maybe different phases that are happening but are not like an entire, construction that's going to happen at one time? Just kind of trying to understand how these pieces coincide with one another.
Yeah, so that's a great question. Well, it's one of the things that we're investigating right now. So Bar Central and the efforts on the Huntridge Theater are two, when I say separate efforts, meaning the permitting is completely separate. So the TI permit for that is we haven't turned it in, but it's ready to be turned in. And so one of the things that we are going to investigate is if it's possible for us to get that portion of the project done ahead of the theater, since there are some moving parts and things that could change. I would anticipate the plans for the theater taking a little bit longer, where we could potentially get Bar Central in, permitted, and maybe even start that ahead. Not sure if the tenant would be okay with opening, ahead, or even more so while the theater is under construction. Maybe it wouldn't be super ideal, but it's something that we've talked about and, would be a positive development. Now, the other issue is if we did get them permitted, then we would still have the space in the front, and those two buildings are really close. So it would be probably difficult, and we would probably have to renovate the core and shell of both of those buildings separately and try to get that done. And one of the things that would come up is we have civil engineering plans and some new power and some other things that we have to deal with. So it may not even be possible, but it is something that we've discussed. How it was originally imagined was all of it happening at once.
Are there any questions from our commissioners on the phone?
No.
Okay, any other questions on the commission? Well, great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 7, 250368 HPC1, report by Arthur Krupitz. Sorry if I butchered that. The new State Historic Preservation Officer from the Nevada State Historic Preservation Office regarding state and federal mandates and other information related to historic preservation. Welcome.
Thank you. For the record, Arthur Krupich, last name Krupicz, position State Historic Preservation Officer. Thank you, Historic Preservation Commission. It's great to see all of you. I look forward to meeting all of you going forward. I hope we have a long collaboration together. My background is archaeology. I've been an archaeologist for 30 years, 20 years in Nevada. I've been at state parks for the last 10 years, so I've been a little bit hidden away. Our state parks are wonderful, as you all know, but I've been focused on those 27 park units and traveling for personal and for work all around the state, and certainly I'm familiar with Vegas, and I look forward to being more involved for sure. I'll give a bit of my comments won't be too long. Again, I look forward to discussions with you over future meetings and on the ground with talking about projects and kind of getting in the weeds or in the buildings with those. So a little bit of what I'm seeing preservation-wise across the state, and a few other comments, and we'll go from there. I've been at SHPO. This is my second stint at SHPO. I worked at the Nevada SHPO before I went to Parks. I worked at the New Mexico SHPO before that, getting a lot of different experience. I'm familiar with all the programs that we work with and all of that. But I've been here in this position since mid-May, so a little bit over 3 months now. I've spent the summer getting in sync with staff. We have a wonderful staff. We're a little bit short-staffed, which I'll get to in a moment. But yeah, we have a great staff, just getting familiar with where their programs are right now. I'm getting out now as we go into the fall, moving out of the office a little bit, getting to see you. I want to see all of our preservation commissions, all of our partners, and start collaborating more, which I'll also get to in just a minute. I'll get to a few just key points. As far as funding goes for SHPOs around the country, obviously we're tied 60% of our funding. It's very common for most SHPOs around, nearly all SHPOs around the country. As I understand it, our funding is very much tied to the federal government through the Historic Preservation Fund, HPF as we call it for short. There's been a lot of tumult around that, as you've probably heard, for the last many months. That is actually now stabilizing through a lot of work from preservation partners, SHPOs, the whole preservation community. That does seem to be stabilizing. Here in Nevada, we just put in for our most recent, I guess, pot of money that is available from the government, from the feds, so to speak. We just put in, we should hear soon, and it's looking now like our funding at the SHPO is stable until September of 2027, which, depending on your view, that may be good, that may sound a little tenuous. But for SHPOs in our era, in our world right now in preservation, that is actually pretty stable. We haven't had to lay anybody off, and that outlook going out to 2027 is actually pretty good as SHPOs go. So we're happy about that. There's other things I can talk about. I won't go into too extensively, but we're also, SHPOs around the country and preservation partners are trying to get a reauthorization of that HPF fund for 10 years. I guess you could say traditionally, going back decades, the HPF has been authorized for 10 years at a time. So we essentially don't have to worry about our funding, so to speak. But the last quite a few years now, Congress hasn't been reauthorizing that for 10 years. So that's where we get into this situation where we're just a few years out at a time. So within that situation, we're looking pretty good in Nevada relative to other SHPOs, as I mentioned. And we'll keep working on that and we'll keep you posted as well. So that's kind of the summary on funding up in Carson City there. And then just a little bit on a few points that I wanted to highlight. We are working on staffing. We're down a few positions, but I'm making a push with our public information office at the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources to get out on social media, work with our community members, our partners more in order to just get people aware that the Nevada SHPO is looking for staff, and we are trying new things, we have new perspectives, etc. And on that, I do, even before we fill our open positions, I want all of you to know that I'm working actively with staff on ways to become more efficient, even without a full capacity staff up in Carson, how to get more efficient. I want to continue to assist this commission with training, with funding, and more practical things. I'm talking to staff right now about how to turn around reports, and when you submit things to us, how can we get those turned around more quickly so you guys aren't waiting and our projects aren't waiting. I don't want the SHPO office, fully staffed or not, to be the source of delay. And so we're actively working on that, and I'm talking with staff on how to do that. So efficiencies, just in general, we're working on. Collaboration. SHPOs definitely have a role. We have to uphold the Secretary of Interior's standards for projects and all that, for sure. But I'm bringing a mindset, if you will, of, and I've talked to staff about this, of trying to get to yes and trying to figure out how we can get projects done. Not all the problems with projects, we know what those are and we can all identify those, but how to navigate through those and get our projects done and get these places we love and that we value actually rehabilitated, et cetera, et cetera. And then finally, service is my last point. We support you. I really do see our relationship as one of support. The SHPO supports all of you and all of our projects on the ground. My background is archaeology, but I very quickly turned away from, that's a little strong of word, turned away, but I went into more public archaeology rather than studying arrowheads and residue analysis and so on and so forth. I went very early into public archaeology, working with the public on how archaeology works, how science works, getting that info to the citizens and all of us so people can appreciate it. I've also worked in grants, getting grants down to people for outdoor rec and preservation as well. And so I am coming with a mindset to SHPO of service, customer service, public service, and really seeing things happen on the ground. It's not about us, it's about what we all do. And that sounds canned, but I mean that sincerely. My background has always been focused on that, and I'm going to continue that from the SHPO office. So one more item, I guess kind of reinforcing my last point. I am actively looking at, I have to look at our budget, but I'm actively looking at coming down to Las Vegas and other parts of the state for at least a few days. I hope to do it quarterly. Again, I don't want to promise too much until I double check our budget, but I want to have a presence here and elsewhere in the state so all of you and everybody knows that the SHPO office is and the SHPO themselves is here and available on a regular schedule. And of course, my door is always open, phone, etc. Although, as we talk right now, the phones are not literally available, as you may have heard, nor is email. So that's a bad, this is the wrong day to be stating that, I suppose. But when everything comes back online, yes, my door is open. Contact me anytime. And I do plan to physically be available here and throughout the state on a regular basis. And I'll get that out to you. I think that is all for comments from me, prepared comments. Thank you very much. I look forward to working with all of you and with our projects going forward. Thank you.
Great, thank you for being with us here today. Are there any questions from the commissioners?
Yeah, Art, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it. Nathan Harper for the record. Could you just briefly give an update and just an overview of the NevCris system and plans you have for that?
Oh, sure. So our NevCris system, that's the Nevada Cultural Resource Information System. It's a database. If you saw it on your phone, it would be like an app. It's a mapping app that shows literally all the archaeology sites and many of the historic buildings in our state that have been recorded. It's restricted in that only certain qualified folks, professional archaeologists, architectural historians, et cetera, can access it, but it's a critical research tool. And it really speeds up reviews at our office when agencies are doing projects and things like that. It has, you all could maybe speak to this a little more directly. It has some value to the work of this commission and the projects you fund and oversee, NIVCRIS specifically, but we're working on expanding that. It's becoming, we have new reports, so basically the folks, I suppose, that you or your grantees would hire, they have quicker access to what's been happening, what's been recorded at our historic places, et cetera. So NIVCRIS is getting more efficient with new reports. You can upload polygons, your project area into the software. It's becoming ever more efficient. It was already well regarded within the industry and folks who use it, and it's becoming even better, I would say, and that's been the feedback. That's not just me. That's the feedback we're getting so far. And then also on a digital note, we are going back to my point on efficiencies. We're looking at how to submit projects digitally. SHPO has always been paper. I believe we're one of the last to still do submissions by paper, and so we're going to catch up there on that point. We're very far ahead in some ways and a little behind on others, so we're going to get caught up on submitting things digitally. So we're looking at how to submit reports. We're looking at different platforms, different options, from in-house options to off-the-shelf options that we would purchase from a vendor, but we're working on that as well. So just again, working on efficiencies. That service aspect is very important to me, and I know it is to our staff. They've been on board as well. They want to just work with you and all of our partners much more efficiently than they have. So yeah, I hope that answers the question to some degree. Thank you.
Any questions from our commissioner on the phone?
No.
No, okay. I do have, I guess, just a couple quick questions, and I know that this may have not been your focus yet, so totally understandable if you don't have an in-depth response, but have you, are there any kind of updates or priorities we should be thinking about for the CLG program as we prepare? We usually do make a grant ask through that grant pretty regularly, so anything that we should be aware there. And then I also just wanted to plug, speaking of some tools, a handful of years ago, some of the staff had started developing the historic context reports, both statewide and also some local level contacts. And those have just been immensely helpful, I think, for our architectural historians and for progressing our own survey work. So I would just love to see that work continue. I think there's some other areas that have been underexplored in our state that could really benefit from some additional resources, trusted resources, really, to document that information and work into our reports.
Right. Art Krubich for the record. Thank you, Vice Chair. I'll take your second point first. The historic context, I agree, they're hugely beneficial. My work at Nevada State Parks, for example, they helped not only those of us doing historic research, they helped our interpreters. They're a really a special and important component. So yes, I absolutely want to make historic context more complete, more geographically inclusive, more demographically inclusive, et cetera. So we're gonna be looking at that for sure, because yeah, they just help everyone, as you said, as you suggested. As far as CLGs and the apps, et cetera, there is nothing in particular to be aware of. The CLG app, the funding, it's stable for now. So there's nothing new that I could tell you all right now. But we will, especially again with the funding having been up in the air over the past few months, again, that's stabilizing, but we will certainly keep you posted. And one of my, I mentioned this already, but in terms of that service aspect and support aspect, that's another element, is keeping you all up to speed. And I mean quickly. When we hear things, we're not going to sit on it. We will work with you to adapt if something's changing. But no, nothing in particular right now. That kind of landscape, it seems pretty stable for the moment.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Well, thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to our future conversations with you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
We will move on now to agenda item 8, 250369 HPC 1, discussion for possible action regarding approval of funding in the amount of $200 to renew the Commission's membership with the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions. And I'll turn this over to Dr. Diane Seabrandt.
Thank you. Seabrandt for the record. Not much to add on this, other than what the Vice Chair just read off. It's just to renew our membership, and these memberships, remember, they do provide us different discounts and literature, and it's $200 out of our HPC budget.
Vice Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Great, that motion carries with the Vice Chair voting in favor as well. Agenda item 9, agenda item 9, 25-0370-HPC 1, discussion for possible action regarding approval of funding in the amount of $250 to renew the Commission's membership with the National Trust for Historic Preservation Leadership Forum.
Seabrandt for the record, and similarly, it's again the discounts we get by being part of this membership and the different literature that is available. And we just need to take this out of the HPC budget.
Okay.
Vice Chair, I'd like to make a similar motion to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries with the Vice Chair also voting in favor. Agenda item 10, 25-0371-HPC 1 is report by the Community Development Department regarding the Historic Preservation Commission's budget.
Seabrant for the record. So in the past, we did this report in December, but everything we do financially in the city is by fiscal year rather than calendar year. So it can get confusing having these two calendars that we're trying to merge together. So from here on out, we'll be doing our budget update at the end of each fiscal year. And Teresa Smith is going to give us a report. Teresa?
Hello, Teresa Smith for the record. Okay, there it is. Okay. So as Diane said, it gets a little confusing. So moving forward, this format probably will change. We have to see how that's going to work throughout the year. But from fiscal year 2024, we had about 5 grants that were still open that are all closed now, and out of those 5 grants, we had about 56,600 that was paid out. Here you can see just the total of all of those grants that were still open, and there was a balance of about 3,000 that wasn't spent that would go back into the HPC budget. And from the fiscal year 2025, we had about four projects, and 2 of those projects are still open, so you'll see them on our form for the fiscal year 2026. So far, we've awarded about 48,000 in fiscal year 2025 and paid out a little over 19,000 with the remaining balance of 28,600, and out of that we had about $2,225 that was not spent out of one of our grants. We still have, let me see, the 2 grants that we still have open is the Floyd Lamb Park Historical Report, which they still have a balance of $25,775. And then we haven't traveled yet for the National Trust Pass Forward 2025 conference. So far, we've spent $12,378 of the $15,000 that the commission did approve funding for, with the remaining balance of $2,621. We probably won't spend all of that, so you'll see some of that go back into the budget as well. I'm going to go back to this page. For our operational expenses, those include like things from our strategic outreach program, which might be postcards, postage that we have to pay for postcards, anything from graphics that we have to get printed, and our luncheon. And so far for the fiscal year 2025, we've spent about $1,000 on that. So we still have about $6,659 allocated to our strategic outreach program and other things that includes that the commission does approve funding for our historic plaques for any property that is listed on the local register, our membership renewals that we just did today, and the notification fees that we have to do when we do list a property on our local register. We had about $150,000 coming in from the Centennial Commission, and we will start our fiscal year 2026 budget with $244,584. Any questions? All right.
Questions from the commissioners?
Vice Chair Vice Chair Laramie, my only comment is thank you very much for that detailed report. Look forward to proposals on surveys and reports in the community for the additional funding we're getting from the Centennial Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Laramie, for the record, I do have a clarification just to ensure I'm understanding this. So the grants and projects, I think I'm a little confused on the term grants. So the funding is inclusive of everything that we've granted out through our formal grant programs, as well as kind of the surveys and projects that we've, I guess, commissioned through our RFP process?
Yes, so we have like the bricks and mortar grants and then things that you guys approve funding for, such as the conferences and surveys that you guys fund rather than doesn't include any federal grants. For the next year, I can break those apart if you guys would like to see like conferences, surveys, bricks and mortar grants, things of that nature, if that makes it easier.
Okay, I think that this format is fine. I think the project list slide that you had did help me understand it a little better. We just weren't able to see that too long, but this basically encompasses kind of all of the projects that we've had going on, and it looks like we're going back to fiscal year 2024 and 2025. Is that this report?
This report, yes, because like I said, we had 5 projects that spilled over that got paid during the fiscal year 2025.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. We will continue on with agenda item 11, report by the Community Development Department regarding director's updates.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Seth Floyd for the record. I don't really have a historic related update, but I did want to make note. You probably know by now you're sitting in our new public meeting room as part of our newly opened Civic Plaza facility. We will be in here at least for a while because we are getting a major upgrade to the technology in our city council chambers. I don't know if this will be our permanent home, but we'll be in here for a while. So I hope you enjoy it. I think it's a nice sized room for this group. It accommodates some of the public, but doesn't feel extremely empty like the council chambers does if you don't have a lot of folks here. So we're still working out, as you saw from the beginning, a few of the details of working in this room, but just wanted to welcome you to our new Civic Plaza. And as soon as it's fully open, we can do a tour of the outside of the facility as well. So just wanted to mention that while we're here.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions from the commissioners? We don't always get our director here with us, so an opportunity to put him on the spot if anyone would like to. Commissioners on the phone?
No.
All right. You got off easy today, Seth.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item, let's see, 12, report by the Community Development Director regarding our project update list.
Thank you, Seaburn, for the record. And again, to echo what Seth said, welcome to the new spot. I like this so much better because I can see everybody now and we can see each other. So just have a few updates. The Old Mormon Fort National Register update will be at the September 11th State Board meeting. If it passes through that meeting, it will go to the National Park Service. Cliff May Homes, we do have the second draft presented at our September meeting. The second draft was sent out to everybody, so everybody has plenty of time to read it and provide their comments at the September meeting. And then the Floyd Land Park Historical Report, which is a historic context. The first draft on that one is in our October meeting. And then the Las Vegas High School, the original Las Vegas High School, will get a campus update from the Clark County Schools in our October meeting as well. So conferences and training sessions. So the last week was the virtual summer course. I hope everybody that signed up for that if you haven't watched it yet, that you watch it for 60, 90 days? 90 days, it's still available. But we do need everybody's written summaries of those sessions. We need to send those to SHPO for our grant reimbursement. I watched all of them. They were very, very well done. And I think that everybody would learn something from watching these. And then we'll talk about it also at our September meeting once everybody has viewed them. For those of us going to the National Trust Pass Forward Milwaukee Conference, again, we'll do a report to the commissioners at our September HPC meeting. And I'm really sad that Jack isn't here today, but I'll make sure and send him this. So does everybody remember 1819 Beverly Way? This was 2-3 years in the making. And I'm sorry, my picture's crooked because I was taking it from the car. But they finally removed the addition. So if you remember what it looked like, the one on the left is the addition that was added unpermitted and unapproved by this board. And the image is on the right, and I took that Monday morning. So it is back to looking like the cute little house that it was included as part of the historic district. So I'll make sure and tell Jack that as well. And that is a huge win for us. So thank you for your patience as we worked through all of the issues in order to get that completed. And that's all I have unless there's any questions.
Any questions from commissioners? Chair Stodel on the phone.
Just a comment to echo what Dr. Seabrand said. That is an important win both for the HPC, but also for the city of Las Vegas. That's great news, and look forward to seeing the picture that you took through your car. But thank you for that, Dr. Seabrand. That's great news.
Thank you.
And Madam Vice Chair, Seth Floyd, for the record, I know that when you look at those pictures together, you think, what's the big deal? They took off a piece of the front. This was a very heavy lift for a few departments. City Attorney's Office was a huge help to that. Code Enforcement, one of our other teams, was a huge help. There were some major challenges to getting that done. So yeah, kudos to the team for making it happen. I told Diane I thought she'd be retired by the time we got that taken care of. So she's well ahead of schedule.
Yeah. Commissioner Laramie, I also echo the congratulations. This is my historic district that I live in, and so I'm also very excited to see it removed and was standing in the street when it was, cheering it on. So it's very exciting, and I think it's just very exciting to see and understand, that the process does take a long time and it can be difficult and frustrating, but it's nice when it finally is completed and we see that the process does work for us. So great news. I also had a quick question for those of us attending the National Trust Conference. Are we turning in summaries on that as well, or just presenting to the commission?
We can just do oral presentation at the September conference on that. It's just the virtual one that we need to have the written summaries in order to give to SHPO.
Okay, perfect, thanks. Any other questions or comments from the commission?
Commissioner Surface, I just want to echo what my colleagues have said about your efforts on Beverly Way. And I know it's a monumental task to get departments to coordinate and have a team effort. So kudos to you, Seth and Diane, to getting the other attorneys, the city attorneys and code enforcement all on the same page and doing this for us. It really, it's a big deal. And kudos to all of you for working so hard on it. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you for our update. We'll move to agenda item 13, 25-0372-HPC1, report by the Community Development Department regarding historic and archaeological resources in local media. Anything you want to add to that?
Seabright, for
Dr.
the record, I'm
Seabright?
sorry, now I was writing something. No, nothing, thank you.
Okay, great. Well, as we know, we always have a great list of resources and kind of media coverage on things related to preservation. So that's a great resource for us, and there's some good articles in there this month as well. Item number 14, discussion regarding topics for future agenda items. Comments made during this portion of the agenda by individual members shall refer solely to proposals for future agenda items, and any discussion shall be limited to whether or not such proposed items are within the purview of the commission and/or whether such proposed items shall be placed on a future agenda. No discussion regarding the substance of any such proposed topic shall occur, and no action shall be taken. Open it up for commissioners to propose future agenda items. Yes.
Cheryl Purdue, Commissioner. I would like to inquire about the city historical signs. Who selects them? How do they tie in with HPC? Is there any tie-in? Who approves them? How are they paid for? And their purpose? That's the neighborhood markings that say this neighborhood is a historical area.
Any other proposed topics from the commission? Chair Stoldal on the phone.
No, just echo the chair regarding the markers. We've had some discussion about that in the past, and so an update would be great to clarify who has the responsibility. I think Seth has taken some action in that area, so look forward to hearing that. Thank you.
Great. Moving on then to item 15, citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the commission. No subject may be acted upon by the commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, please come forward and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Anybody wishing to give public comment at this time? Seeing no one, that brings us to our last item 16, and this meeting is adjourned.